Now it's been a minute, but we are back on F1 Manager. This weekend we're here at Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix. As you can see on screen and right now, forecast this weekend is going to be dry, and we're going to hopefully have another decent weekend. Now, if you haven't seen the previous episode at Austria, go check it out, guys. Link in the top right. It was a pretty chaotic race, to be honest with you. To say it was a dry weekend, there was a lot of action, and we had both cars scrapping in the points, so go check it out. If you're going to enjoy this one, don't leave a like and subscribe, and let's get into it because we have updates for this weekend. Now, one thing I want to note, and we'll address this in the next episode because it's back-to-back race weekends, but we have our board performance review coming up soon. Also, a bunch of scouting updates and also facility updates arriving at the end of next week. So quite a big, a few things are happening. As for this weekend, we've got the French Grand Prix and no real other updates to follow. And we're not working on updates right now. We're currently working on research for next season. You can see here we've got front wing and underfloor research underway. Depending on how we are, I might do a mid-season upgrade because the chassis, I believe, and the side pods are not changing for season 2. So we'll bear that in mind. For now though, we're looking good. We've spent all of our development points on both drivers, so we've got nothing to work with heading into this weekend. And also, I believe in terms of staff, we've also spent the development points on all of them. So yeah, we're up to date, we're ready to go. So let's get into the weekend and let's get into those performance targets. Now this weekend we are going to guarantee P15 or above, aka getting a car into Q2. That is also an incentive. We also had the possible guarantee of reaching Q3, which is a bit far-fetched for this point, so we're not going to go and waste money on that. We're not going to go for the fastest lap because we're no longer towards the bottom, so we're a bit more competitive, mixing up in the midfield. And we've also gone for a guarantee on the qualifying position streak. So qualifying a race P15 or above, let's see if we can achieve it. Let's get into the weekend.
It's Grand Prix time here in Le Castellet. The very first horseless carriage race was organised in France in 1894. Since then, the carriages have only gotten faster. For the Grand Prix here, Paul Ricard boasts a fine collection of low, medium and high-speed corners. The seam curve is taken at breakneck speed, right before heavy braking at Beausset. This is an all-rounder test for cars and drivers alike. We're about halfway through the season now, and there's still plenty of time for everything to change. All eyes are on the teams and how they tackle the rest of the year. The competition is on.
Now last race we had a failure with Lance Stroll. In practice, of course, we lost one of the gearboxes. We're going to keep on taking a risk though, using up the worn components. So as you can see, this is Lance's car. As for Seb, we have a very, very second-hand gearbox, 21%. Anyway, hard tyres, 22 laps, all the good stuff. Let's get into it.
What's your thoughts on coming in or doing any more?
What a miss.
Copy.
So Seb's not happy. Anyway, that's not too important right now. Look at our pace. Look how far behind we are. We've got both drivers on stay off curbs and drive slow, which is going to cost them time. I've done a very slow stint, but now going to let them, push a little bit and basically use up the rest of the fuel. So let's see what their pace is now. A bit more realistically, we'll also hopefully get an update from Lance ASAP.
How does it feel?
Yeah, it's not bad. I think it's okay.
So 54% for Lance,
Copy that.
47 for Seb.
Gearbox is getting worse.
Copy.
We'll keep him out, but this could be an issue. Hopefully it's not terminal. We're going to basically let them burn the fuel down, and that'll be it, I think. At least for Seb, and after changing the gearbox then for FP2. ERS damage for Lance. Again, we're going to have these kind of niggling issues throughout practice, especially FP1. You can see the pace now has improved. We're 2 seconds off the pace ahead of the Williams cars, and even with this worn car, we're still doing okay. One more lap and both cars should be in. We'll make adjustments, send them out in softs, and that will be it for FP1. We'll see if Seb's gearbox holds up.
Now let's have a look. It's Lance Stroll.
So Lance with an error there.
And yes, that's where they spin out.
Not ideal, but Lance gets back underway. Yellow flag in sector 2. So one more lap for both drivers.
Copy.
As you can see, Seb actually getting past Lance there in the process. So as for Seb's setup, you can see it's braking stability great, everything else bad. So not a great base to start from. 32% track acclimatization for him. Not too bad, that's kind of why I left him out, but we do have a car part problem, which indicates to me that we have a gearbox issue. We're not allowed to go back out, so I think it's terminal. As you can see there, it says terminally damaged parts must be replaced, so I think we have a gearbox problem, so we're going to go ahead, change the gearbox. That is going to mean no more running for Sebastian Vettel in FP1, so we'll work on the setup for FP2. For now though, we're going to go to Lance and see what he can do for this session. Okay, so with Lance, you can see we have good oversteer, so I've made an adjustment to the right. Braking stability and cornering are great, so I've got some small tweaks to the right. Traction, flipped it to the left, and straights, flipped it to the right, as they're on bad. Soft tyres for Lance, 22 laps, let's send them out, and let's get that knowledge. Now with FP1 finished, Carlos Sainz setting the pace early on. We do have a penalty further down for Daniel Ricciardo in P14. I didn't really get a warning or notification for that, so not exactly sure what happened. Possibly engine components, who knows. Stroll finishes in P17, Seb in P19, and yeah, as for Stroll, we ran out of time to get the feedback, so we should get that feedback hopefully very early in FP2. So let's get into it and let's keep progressing. So for Seb in FP2, I am happy with this setup adjustment. So great, braking stability is kept the same, and we've got everything else flipped in some way, shape or form to see if we get that, knowledge and hopefully improvement. For this session, we're going to go for the medium tyre, and we're going to go for a nice, I'll say 22 lap run with a bit of fuel saving in the middle, and that should do the trick. I'm pretty happy with this. We've kept the ones that are great more or less the same. As you can see, some pretty big changes there. Cornering, getting a small adjustment even though we don't know what we're going to get. That is merely a consequence of what I've done to the rest of the setup. So braking stability is now inside the bracket, and so is oversteer a bit more to the right, as I feel like that could be the right way to go. Gearbox wear with Sebastian again.
What's your thoughts, Sebastian, on coming in or doing any more?
Well done. Car was great.
Yep.
So Sebastian's happy. Meanwhile, Stroll showing gearbox wear. We'll let Seb push for a couple of laps, and then we'll bring them in for the second runs.
How does it feel, Lance?
Yeah, good job with the car.
Copy that. Pick up the pace a bit.
Yep.
So Lance is very happy. That's good to see. Both drivers are great. We've got 84 for Lance and 82 for Seb. That's a good baseline. We'll let them now burn off their fuel a little bit, and we'll bring them in about 4 or 5 minutes and get ready for the final runs. You can definitely notice it takes a little longer for feedback to come in from Stroll compared to Seb. Now with Lance, as you can see, I've made some small adjustments. The oversteer is getting the biggest change, right dead in the center. Everything else is getting a very small tweak. So let's see if we start to get some optimals, hopefully. Soft tyres for this run, and also 22 laps again. So let's see what Seb has to say as he's pulling into his garage now. There's a bit more work to do with Sebastian's setup. Oversteer though is optimal. That gives me a guide to aim for. As you can see, braking stability, traction and straights are getting some pretty decent adjustments. They're going to go more central. Braking stability is going more to the other side, to the extreme, but we'll see if that works. Cornering was right on the edge. We've brought it in a little bit. We might hopefully get optimal now. I'm confident this could be close to optimal with Seb. I'm a little bit more unsure with Lance, but this one looks pretty good to me. Let's send both drivers out and get ready.
Sebastian, any thoughts on setup options?
Car was great.
Copy.
94%. We're close for time here. I don't know if Lance is going to get the feedback in time. We're going to find out.
How's the balance?
So Stroll's happy. Car feels great. And just as the timer ran out to 0, we've managed to get that feedback. So both drivers happy. Happy days all round. FP2 was a pretty good success. And here we have the results. This time Charles Leclerc quickest ahead of Carlos Sainz. Carlos though on the medium, just like Perez. Hamilton P6 on a hard. Ricciardo still with that penalty. And we finish in P17 and P19 respectively. As we now move into FP3, and then we'll change the power unit for qualifying, and hopefully that should give us a bit of a pace boost, but it seems like we're in the mix. Pace looks good. The fact we're only 4 tenths off, 5 tenths off these guys with a very worn engine is very encouraging.
We return for the next day of our highly anticipated race weekend, which sees the end of practice and the start of qualifying. Whoever said every second counts clearly hadn't revelled in the sport of Formula One, where grid positions can be decided by thousandths of a second. The drivers competing today are amongst the finest in the world, but the margins are even finer. And as you can probably guess, there is no margin for error. Here we go, folks. It's time to get started.
Now with Sebastian, I'm very happy with this. Optimal on 3 out of the 5. Cornering is going to most likely remain on great. I don't know if this is going to work. I need to remember if traction is going to be optimal, going left or right. I'm going to go right and see what happens, but I'm not too confident. We'll see. Either way, we can always fall back on the setup, which is 94%, which is great. So I'm going to try this. I'm not 100% certain it's going to fix it. The traction, which is good, it's actually just outside the bracket, and so is cornering, which is on great, but the optimals are still the same. We can always fall back on this, but let's find out. Now as for Lance, we have optimal cornering and traction, so we've kept the same. Braking stability and straights are on great. They're getting small adjustments. Braking stability is slightly more than I'd like. I don't know if I can maybe just bring this in a little bit, just to be safe. There we go. Oversteer though on good, getting the biggest adjustment of the bunch. Let's hope that's enough. I'm not 100% confident, but I think oversteer and straights could go to optimal with this. Let's see what happens. Ooh, big crash. Seb involved. We'll get a replay. Looks like Stroll cleared it, but Seb involved. And damage as well. How bad's the damage?
It's a collision.
It's minor. I think I'll leave him out.
We can take a look now. Now just focus on the Haas.
So Seb and Magnussen. Ugh, get a bit scruffy.
There's the collision. It's caused absolute carnage.
Yeah, we'll leave him out there. Minor front wing damage, I think that's okay. It's not a major concern. You can see his right front end plate is missing. Let's see, maybe, can we see it here? Yes, we can. You see there, it's just missing on the front right, but that's okay. Not a major concern.
What's your thoughts on coming in or doing any more?
Well done. Car was great.
Copy that.
Not ideal. We've lost a little bit with Seb. As for Lance, 94% for him. So I will just leave them out. Actually, no, I'll bring them in. We'll cut the run short. Cut the run short. We'll try and go for one more run and get the changes done. Now with Lance, we're going to go for very small tweaks to oversteer, braking stability, and the straights are getting a very, very fine adjustment. We'll see if we can get at least 4 out of 5 optimals. I think the straights might stay on great. Again, we can always fall back on the setup if necessary. I think this is the best we're going to do with Sebastian. Optimals are the same, more or less. There's very, very fine adjustments on each. I hopefully won't lose them. Traction is back in the sweet spot. Cornering is inside the bracket, so I'm hoping for, if all goes well, 4 optimals and great traction. That's the best we can hope for. We should still achieve 100% track acclimatization by the end of this as well. We're not going to get the radio message from Seb, but he's on 93%. So we're not quite going to get the optimals with him this weekend. Bit of a shame. Maybe that second FP1 run could have been key to really get that knowledge. Let's see what Lance has to say though before the session ends. As for Stroll, 94%. So we're not quite going to get optimals with neither driver, but still we've managed to get 100% track acclimatization with both, even with the limited running for Seb. So happy days. And then we have it, Leclerc, quickest again, this time on mediums. Grid penalty for Ricciardo and also now Magnussen, so they're both going to go back. And we finish in P17, P19, but we're now going to quickly recap. So as you can see, 100% on both. SAP confidence 93 and 94, so we don't quite get 15 out of 15 on performance bonus, as you need 95 or above to have that. So it's a bit of a shame. But yeah, I think overall I'm happy with things, how they went. But now let's move to qualifying. Now with Seb, I'm going to play things safe. Now, as you can see, I've made some adjustments, and I think I'm pretty confident this would give me optimal all round. If not, it'd give me maybe great cornering, but great or even optimal traction. So we'd probably gain a bit more. But I'm going to revert back to the highest confidence setup, which is 1% more. So we're going to revert with Seb and go for that because it's the highest one available. It's Q1, so soft tyres, and we're going to go for a 2-lap run. Same thing with Lance. Of course, let's change the car parts, very important. As you can see, they're absolutely shattered to bits. As for Lance, we're not going to change the setup. 94 is the highest we've had, and it's the highest we had before. Optimal and greats all round. Again, I think it's only one click to really get it all optimal, but I'm not going to take the chance. I'd rather keep the performance bonuses of 14 out of 15 on both drivers, so let's get into it. Right, Q1 underway. Both drivers out on track. Seb trailing Stroll, as we're going to see what their first sectors are. So a couple of personal bests. Russell, I'm assuming, is going purple behind them. Seb is getting a slight tow from his teammate. We'll see if that has any benefit. Across the line then, first lap's in, and Seb is 2/10 quicker. Russell over a second faster. Let's see what the second lap is, which is usually a bit better. Okay, on to lap 2. No traffic whatsoever for both drivers, which is fantastic. Seb is only 3/10 off Lando Norris. We're ahead of Schumacher and Latifi already. Both onto personal bests in Sector 1. Sector 2 is going to be personal best for both as well, which is good. So usually when you get 2 greens, that means it's going to be an improvement overall. Snowden now, Alonso as well getting ahead of us. Let's see what the updates are across the line. So Seb improves. No, he doesn't. Does Lance improve? Also doesn't improve. So for once, even though they were personal best in both sectors, they actually didn't go faster. So that's the first run's done. Let's go back to the garage. Away we go. Both drivers out. That is everyone now out on track. And Stroll is going to be behind Seb. Should be okay for time to make it. We'll get onto the track with about 2 minutes to go. That will give us a 30-second window to get around. Let's go on board with Mr. Lance Stroll, shall we, for this one? Seb directly in front, so we'll keep track of his progress. Let's go 2 times speed as we make our way down into the first chicane. No dramas there, no corrections. Now into the slow speed stuff. Let's have a look. Nice and tidy so far. Seb first sector, personal best. Lance, not a personal best. That's surprising because he went, even quicker on his previous run on the second lap. So a bit more time to find. Let's have a look onto the Mistral straight, and of course through the chicane as well. Checkered flag out, drivers crossing the line. Second sector from Sebastian is personal best. Lance is personal best. So now we're talking. You can see right now Schumacher's out. He's set the same lap time as Lance, but he's behind on countback. Both Williams have also crossed the line, waiting for Ocon. Currently a 10th off Zhou Guanyu. But Seb looking good to be into Q2 already here. Let's see what happens. Let's speed this up a little bit. Ocon across the line now. Here we go. First of all, Sebastian, let's see what he does. He's currently right on the knockout phase on the bubble. Everyone has finished. Zhou has finished his lap. Seb improves massively to P12. What about Lance with the slipstream? Only finds, to be fair, he finds over a 10th, but not enough. And we're out with Lance. So there's confirmation. Lance out. But to be fair, pretty good improvement on his last lap, albeit with not a personal best first sector. Sainz setting the pace. And you can see Seb P12, fantastic. And less than a 10th off Tsunoda, so possible P11 up for grabs. Ricciardo and Magnussen, if they qualify there for the race with those penalties, Stroll will start from P15. So it's not looking too shabby. Definitely a gap you can see between Magnussen and Zhou in terms of driver quality and pace. And yeah, Seb just making it through. Look how close these four were. Literally 1,000 splitting all 4 of these guys. That's how close it was. But we're into Q2. Now then, underway in Q2, Sebastian is going to get a bit of a tow from Checo on his first lap. This is on a slightly used set. It's the set that we used on our set of tyres to get through into Q2 from Q1. He's going to hit Ocon in the chicane, and that is a big time loss. You can see the gap there to Perez just massively grow. So that is going to be a first run in the bin for Sebastian. That's going to be game over. Massive traffic there with Ocon. And you can see we're miles off. What's the lap time? 2.1 off. Well, that's a write-off. Was going for a single lap run as well. I didn't fuel for 2 for a change, so that has completely backfired. We'll send him out though on a fresh set for the final run and just see what happens. Okay, this is it. Sebastian's last lap. Let's go 2 times speed as we get underway. Fresh set of tyres. The sector times are going to be a bit misleading. I think sector 1 will be a good indication because sector 2 we were slow anyway, so
The checkered flag is now out.
if he's personal best in sector 1, that would be a good start because that was a legit sector. So let's see. Into the split now. We're about to find out. It is personal best. So that's good. Let's see. Let's see what happens. So you can see this is all irrelevant data right now because of the second sector. Which this is where he got held up now in the chicane, which this time he's going to get a nice clear run. Track grip now at high. Track rub will also go up to normal, so we're going to get the best track conditions. Personal best as expected. Tsunoda has crossed the line. That's the kind of guy we're looking for there. Tsunoda in P9. Bottas has finished, so has Magnussen. Not a lot of improvements coming in. Norris has also crossed the line just now. So that's the running order. There's a possible P10 here up for grabs, you know. Norris in P10 isn't a million miles away. Let's find out. Up to the line. Oh, that's disappointing. P15 only. Damn. Well, that's not what we wanted. A bit of a shame, really. But still, positives to take. And what I mean by that is, if we scroll down, Ricciardo Magnussen penalty, so they're going to drop behind. And I think Stroll will also benefit from that. We went quicker than Q1, so the pace was fine, but everybody else just stepped up their game a bit more. But still, look at that. We were a tenth and a half off getting into Q3, which is a sign of real progress. So happy with that. Anyway, let's get into the main event. Let's get into the race. Right, here we have the strategies for the race. So both drivers on a medium to hard tyre. I'm not going to overcomplicate things too much, to be honest with you. They're both on aggressive and push and overtake in terms of their race start modes. And yeah, we're going to see what happens. I think I want to try and work on tyre saving a bit, as we tend to burn up our rubber a bit more. And I want to try and have a bit more faith in the car pace. So we'll try and be aggressive on the first 2 laps before the DRS gets enabled. You know, we'll try and use up, make a few places up, and then we'll see what happens.
I hope I'm not tempting fate here, but there are quite a few clouds overhead as we look at the lineup on the grid. And there's Sebastian Vettel. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. There's Lance Stroll, down the grid. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. Will their hard work pay off today? And here we go with the French Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Underway then for the race. Both drivers getting to work straight away. Let's see if we make some progress. I'll go to top speed. As we head to turn 1, Seb gets ahead of Bottas. Stroll looking to get ahead of Zhou. Not quite able to though. So Stroll currently on the back straight. Around the outside. Maybe in the chicane on Zhou. It's going to be a drag race, but he gets in front. Meanwhile, Seb putting pressure on Tsunoda here for P11. What are the tyre compounds? So we've got Ocon on hards.
With a great play there. They've moved up a place.
Let's watch this.
Let's see what happened there. Now let's have a look. It's Lance Stroll.
That was a nice move from Lance. Around the outside and then gets the inside line. And then wins the horsepower race. Back to the live action though. And you see Seb here trying to get past Tsunoda and has achieved it. Tsunoda off track. So that's going to give Stroll a place. I think he might have locked up actually.
And that's the lockup.
So there you go, confirmation he does lock up as now Stroll gets past Bottas, or at least he's trying to. Bottas on the hard tyre, so important here that we do get this move done. And Lance does exactly that. Meanwhile, Seb gets stuck in here with Lando Norris. Side by side for P10. The scrap is still continuing as we go on board, and Seb actually gets a poor exit there. And Stroll's going to pass him, so something quite happened. I didn't quite catch it as I accidentally went back to map view.
Gain a position.
Let's watch this back though. This might give us an answer.
Look at the replay. Watch this. We're looking at Lando Norris.
So side by side through the slow section. They then still go side by side on the exit into the fast left-hander though. And Seb just backs out.
And there they go, moving up a position.
And yeah, Stroll gets by. Anyway, no big deal. We've got into the race now. We're settled in. P11, P12 on the cusp of points. I'm going to see what the pace is like early doors.
Fuel.
Yep.
DRS will be active.
So straight away, Lance doesn't have the pace, and Seb is most likely going to get by here. No DRS, but gets by anyway. So that's Seb. We're going to make him push to catch up to Norris.
Happy to push.
Yeah.
I will make Lance follow him. This already feels like a very important race to be in the DRS train. So yeah, I've got both drivers in deploy, but we're losing so much in the DRS. So much. Stroll and Vettel now actually battling for position here, which is far from ideal, and Stroll has got back in front. This is an issue. I'll let them use their battery and see if we do catch up in the last sector, but this is not ideal. We're just not making progress. We're back down to neutral modes for us. And there goes Seb through on his teammate. Not ideal.
Yeah, take it easy.
Yeah.
The gap is already 2.5, and I've got them both now in standard modes. That one moment in the race where Seb made that mistake or whatever the hell it was onto the back straight and Stroll got past, that was the worst thing that could have happened because it just basically stopped the progress from both drivers. And I wanted to give Stroll a chance to keep up. I didn't think he dropped back that much in standard modes, to be honest with you, but he did, so we're now in a bit of trouble, holding back 2 Alphas and 2 Haas cars. And I think here, look at this Stroll looking to get by it into the chicane, and does so. Bottas also looking to get by. This is looking a bit ropey for us already, this race. Points could be out of the question thanks to this little scrap. And the worst thing is Pierre Gasly is running in P7 for AlphaTauri, which is not ideal. You've got this entire pack of cars being led by Hamilton, and basically Hamilton at his pace is just dragging them along. So he's dragging Gasly, Alonso, Ocon, and worst of all, Norris. Of course, McLaren are behind us in the constructors, so this isn't ideal. Further back though, our boys are still scrapping, although it seems like Seb has, or is about to drop Stroll. Stroll seemingly struggling a bit more here early on. I will go with push on fuel for both drivers a little bit and we'll leave it out for a few laps and go into the negatives. That's okay. I mean, even looking at the map, it just feels like if you're not in a DRS train, you're nowhere. I mean, you've got a DRS train at the front, you've got one in the midfield, a second midfield train, and then one at the back. And if you're not part of it, you're not in the race. DRS is very strong here. Very, very strong. I'm just going to play the long game, so I'm not really going to fuss too much if we get overtaken. Zhou, Schumacher, Magnussen aren't keeping up.
Just moved up a place.
They're losing ground. They're 2.5 seconds behind us. So we've essentially broken away into a train. So Seb is on his own. Albon's had a spin. So Stroll getting by with DRS. I've got both the cars on light push modes. We're trying to recover tyre wear at the moment. I'm playing the long game. Like I said, I want to focus on that a little bit. We're about 1 or 2% off where I want to be, so we'll keep them in light mode for now. The pace isn't actually too bad, even in light. Battery's still, running a bit short, but that's okay. Ideally, we're going to need a VSC or a safety car to really get into this, or someone in the top 10 retires or makes a mistake. I'm going to try and recharge batteries for a bit. Bottas may well overtake both cars and pull away. That's okay. Playing the long game here, we'll put them in standard modes. Hopefully with the DRS they'll be able to keep up. I can already tell it's so easy to keep up. The DRS is so strong, even on the main straight. It's ridiculous. You can see here we're keeping up so easily. We're actually getting past Bottas with both cars without even, doing anything. We're just saving batteries. So, yeah, it's pretty insane how strong
Looks like that
it
was
is.
a position gained for Alfa Romeo.
But yeah, Bottas gets back ahead. We're going to move it back up into neutral soon. And then start to consider options.
Got loads of energy.
Copy.
Energy's good.
Yeah.
So there goes Lance. And Seb likely to follow, although Seb doesn't have DRS, I don't think. There we go. Stroll through. 11 seconds off Norris, man, in 15 laps. It's a big gap. Big. You never know, there could be a two-stopper up ahead. Not really likely, though. Tyre wear is okay-ish. It's on the borders. We haven't really gone pushing that hard this race, but we're still kind of burning through the rubber a bit more than I'd like. As Bottas goes back through. Just dropped out of range. I put both cars into fuel-saving mode to try and save some fuel. That seemed to really affect them. So we're going to put them in full push here and cash back up to Bottas and his DRS, as that is gold for us at this point, which we cannot afford to lose. Although I think we are going to drop out here. Well, there we go anyway. That's them back in range where they've both managed to push in. So we're good to go. Pit window approaching soon. We're going to try and extend the stint as much as we can and try to fight back later on with better tyres. That's what we can really hope for really in this race. There's only a point up for this race, I think, up for grabs if one of the cars ahead drops out. That's what we can really hope for. Yellow flag sector 1, presumably for Zhou, who just had a moment at the chicane. So there's Zhou
And
locking up.
yes, that's the lockup.
Bit of a dodgy off-roading experience there for him. Anyway, back to the live action with the boys. I'm going to try extreme tire saving, see if I can really save some rubber here and not drop out of DRS range, ideally. Right then, so Norris Alonso pit, we've got movement. We're going to ignore and go long. So let's see, Magnussen, Tsunoda also in. The longer we stick with Bottas, the more it's going to work out for us. We could probably even look to overtake him. Let's see, at the minute we're just saving tyres, we're going long. I'm talking long, I want to try and get to like lap 30 if I can. Just to confirm, Norris and Alonso have gone for hard tyres, so they're going to the end. You can see we're the only ones left on these tyres now as we're going long. Gasly, Ocon, Hamilton all on hards, hence why they're still out there on track. So they could be looking at a soft tyre at the end. We're probably going to get to lap 29 max, and then we're going to have to call them in. So we'll have good tyres, we can push for the rest of the race. I was kind of hoping we can maybe get lucky and stretch it to a set of softs, but I don't think that's going to happen. Bottas doing a lovely job though, pulling us along this race. Okay, both drivers onto standard modes now as Alonso, Norris and Ricciardo have all caught up. Ricciardo, by the way, is back in the race.
Tires are just not giving me the grip.
Okay, we'll bring Lance in first.
How many laps am I going to get on these?
And as we said, that here's the live action. But as I was saying, Ricciardo is back into this race now.
Okay, I'm happy to box.
Both of our drivers on the move. Lance stays ahead of Alonso. Ricciardo was way back with the slower guys, but Norris has dragged him along into this race. He's latched onto his teammate. And Ricciardo's in the fight, and he's on a hard tyre, so he's a threat.
Strapping in tyres.
Yep. One more lap for you, Seb, mate. We're going to bring Lance in first.
Is it working what we're doing?
And we're going to bring him in. So Lance into pit lane. Let's see. So Lance is in. Lovely jubbly, 2.8. Nice quick stop. As for Seb, he's still doing his thing, battling with Bottas. All these lot. We're going to pit Seb now this lap. So hard tyres for him. Seb now under pressure from Alonso. And it looks like Alonso has got by. And now Norris is looking to follow. Hamilton, Gasly, Ocon pit off the hard tyre.
Position gained for AlphaTauri. We can take a look now. Now look at this. It was the AlphaTauri driver involved.
So Stroll's rejoined the traffic. And he's been overtaken by Tsunoda. Not ideal. There is Stroll right now doing this thing. But yeah, we're pitting the same up as some of the hard tyre runners. So we've done a good job of extending this first stint. For some reason, Seb isn't coming in. I confirmed the stop. Why is he coming in the next lap? Oh, not ideal. Not ideal. Joe pits. Seb is struggling so much now. His tyres have finished. He's dropping off. Ricciardo's actually got past, for net position, which is bad news. But we've gone long on the stint, so that's good. We're going to put Stroll into push mode. It's time to make some moves here. As for Seb, here he is serving his pit stop. He's going to feed right onto this scrap. 2.8. Seb back underway. Here comes Stroll, who's going to get past Noda at the same time. Yellow flag, sector 1. And there is Sebastian. Just out ahead of Tsunoda.
This is good, Lance. Come on.
So very important there to get that done.
Yeah, copy.
Right, let's push on then. Clean air, both drivers. Let's see what we can do. Got a pretty good rhythm going right now. We're just basically swapping places on the pit straight or the Mistral straight, either or. They're just swapping around, so it's going pretty smooth at the moment. Tsunoda is following us, but that's okay. He's not actually anywhere near getting past us. He's not able to. So we're looking good. We've got them on aggressive, using up the rubber, as you'd expect. I'm actually going to move Stroll down to standard for a bit. That should move Seb in front, and hopefully he can pull away a bit. We're doing fine for fuel. We can afford to push a bit more with Sebastian, so we're going to try and use that to our advantage. And let's see what happens. Right now, these places, I believe, are legit, although Ricciardo and Bottas now pit, so let's see.
Seems to have been a lockup.
Let's see where we are. Hamilton makes a mistake, but there is, as you can see, the battle. And we haven't really undercut them at all, to be honest. And Bottas and Ricciardo are on softs, which is bad news. Well then, this is going to be interesting. Bottas out of Ricciardo's DRS. So Ricciardo's having a great race. He's managed to, out of nowhere, get himself into P11 from absolutely nothing this race. Seb goes through. No DRS for him though, but he still gets through Bottas. I am going to put Seb on deploy here to try and latch on to Ricciardo on the soft tyre.
Looks like Aston Martin have just gained a race position.
I feel like this could be key, so it's important that we try to get DRS from Daniel. Come on, Seb. Get in there. Okay, nice. We've done it. Fantastic. That's a good thing. Even though we're on a hard tyre, we can push flat out, whereas the soft tyres might still have to be managed by those guys. So Seb looking for the move on Daniel here. Meanwhile, Stroll chilling with Tsunoda behind. We've dropped the Haas cars. They can't keep up. So this is all a battle for P11, and we're a full pit stop behind the points. So we are going to need someone in the top 10 to have an issue. Seb goes past Daniel Ricciardo. Fantastic. Yellow flag, sector 1. Ricciardo's made a mistake. Same thing as Zhou.
It almost got away from them entirely.
Not ideal for Daniel. So that's going to cost him some time, and that's him out of the mix. So back to where we were before. Bottas versus 2 Aston Martins in the battle for P11. Norris and Alonso in a complete solo battle for P10. Maybe a bit of contact if something happens between them, but we're a bit too far back here at this stage. I'm going to go attack and see if we can make that work on the tyres. Fuel's fine. I think it's going to be similar to Austria. We're just going to miss out, which is a shame, but still positives to take. Overall pace was okay. We managed to go long on our tyres and make that work. And we've finally broken the 20-second barrier. Let's look at lap times, actually. I want to just see what we're doing. So we're about 8 tenths, 6 tenths a lap faster. It's good pace, as Seb gets past Bottas as well.
Let's have a look. Taking a look again, it involves Sebastian Vettel.
Up the inside of the final corner. That is a very nice move. Opportunistic. Bottas' soft tyres must be starting to struggle at this point. Let's have a look at the tyre wear rates while we're at it. So, Bottas on 60. We're on 60 as well. So, the overlap is happening now and we're starting to get the upper hand. I'm going to put both drivers on defend DRS and basically use up some of the battery over the next 3-4 laps. Bottas can't keep up. He's starting to drop back a little bit now. So, this could be our chance to drop Valtteri from DRS. Battery gone for Lance. Seb as well. We'll go back to neutral modes. Not been able to drop Bottas entirely, although to be fair, the gap is a second. But Bottas has DRS, so yeah, that delta isn't fully accurate. So race leader Carlos Sainz is on the same straight as us, starting the last lap. So we're not going to finish a lap down. This battle's still fully ongoing. You can see now Stroll has got ahead of Seb onto the last lap of the race. And then we've got Bottas and Tsunoda battling behind. So let's see, will Seb get ahead of Stroll on the last lap? Who's going to have bragging rights in the team? Let's find out. On board with Lance here. He goes defensive. Seb though with the DRS. Although again he's not opening the rear flap, but into the chicane. And Seb goes around the outside and gets the move done on his teammate. And that could be that, to be fair. Although we might get one more racing lap if Sainz doesn't lap us, which I don't think he will. There he is. You can see he's just behind us, but not quite close enough. Oh, live action as Sainz wins. Stroll trying to go through at turn 1. Sebastian holds on though. This battle is not over, and Bottas, Tsunoda are waiting. Let's see who comes out on top in this one. To be fair, we could actually go deploy, but I'm gonna let them, scrap this out fairly. They're in the same engine modes. Seb does have slightly better tyres, but here comes Lance Stroll. Something I never thought I'd say. Into the chicane we go, side by side, and Lance is going to get it done on the outside. Seb trying to fight back. Will he get another chance? I don't think he will. And that is going to be it. Stroll comes out on top in the teammate battle. Elsewhere, Ocon making its way up to the line now. And then after that, there's a bit of a gap. Norris and Alonso fell off in the end quite badly. And to be fair, we went flat out in that final part of the race and we cut the gap down to 14 seconds. Even with that constant battling. Is there going to be a photo finish here for P9 with the DRS? Will Alonso trump Norris up to the line? It's going to be close. but not quite enough. And there's Stroll, and Seb follows as we make our way into the final corner, and that is going to be it. Race over for us. P11, P12. Shame we didn't get any points. Same result as Austria, I think, but still.
Nice checkered flag, Miles.
Tough race. Yep. So here we have the final confirmed results. Carlos Sainz with the win ahead of Leclerc, making it a 1-2 for Ferrari and the fastest lap for Charles, so maximum points for the Scuderia today. For us though, further down, P11, P12. If we look at the fastest laps, it wasn't terrible. 35.4, 35.9. Faster than Ocon, Norris, Alonso, and then matching pace with Gasly, Hamilton, you know, in Seb's case. So it wasn't many miles away. The next race though is Hungary, and we messed up in Monaco, you know, with the whole low speed trying to be too, you know, micromanaging in control. So we're going to let them do their usual thing in Hungary and hope that that track is going to suit our car because it's a low speed one. So Hungary and Singapore should be strong circuits for us. Here is the championship though. Verstappen leads the way ahead of Sainz, and we're still P11 and P13. In the constructors, we're still P7. McLaren do gain a couple of points today, but still got a healthy gap. Alfa Romeo scored no points today, but still 15 points between us. A shame we got 11th and 12th in back-to-back races because we could have started to really close this gap a little bit for P6, but still, alas, it is what it is. Elsewhere, bonuses. As you can see after that race, Stroll picking up a big bonus this one. That's going to help him out quite nicely. And Seb as well with a pretty healthy 1,200 points. But there's a lot. Overall, a decent weekend. Finally though, payouts. As you can see, we hit our guarantees. No clauses for finishing the points, so pure profit, no loss. Now we could be in for a couple of upgrades here. The Tour Centre has finished. We might get a few more of those coming soon, as we did spend a lot of money in facilities to upgrade them. The next race in 4 days though, back-to-back weekends. Do we have anything in the inbox? So post-race debrief. Medium speed cornering of car 1 could be better, which we know about. And braking performance of Seb could be improved. So we'll bear that in mind when we go to spend our next set of, of points. Expectations. We've got, of course, our board meeting at the end of this week after Hungary on Sunday. So it's looking good at the moment. Then we've got the post-race review. Here is confirmation of the review. And they have high confidence right now, which is good. And confirmation of the Tour Centre being upgraded. So it's going to improve, the attractiveness of the team. Bit more expensive, but it keeps things looking sharp. Now Seb has a development point after that race, so we're going to go ahead and spend it on his braking, as that was one of the weaknesses, of course, that we noted. Lance doesn't have one just yet. Hulkenberg has one, so we'll go ahead and drop one of those on his braking as well. And I don't think staff have any at the moment. I'm waiting for one for Lance's race engineer, which should be in soon because we had one for Chris Cronin, so Ben Mitchell shouldn't be too far behind. Now we have the option to offer Seb a contract. So I'm going to try something. I'm going to offer him a 1-year deal because I was under the impression that he wants more than 3 years, but I want to kind of put this option out of my mind. So we'll have more chances to hopefully negotiate, but I wanted to see if maybe what he wants is a 1-year deal. We've increased the salary. I'm actually going to go a bit high. I'm going to go to 15 3/4. I've increased the lump sum and race target slightly. Bonus threshold, I'll drop it to P8 for the race. So this is a pretty kind contract, but it's only a 1-year deal. Let's see if he accepts this. I'm curious. Okay, he doesn't want the 1-year deal. Okay, so we know it's not a short term. He wants a 3-4 year deal. That's good to know. Right, okay. Now we know where we stand. Now we can't go back in because the patience was low. We only had one chance, but I wanted to see what it was. So next time we get an option to offer a contract, I think we're going to wrap this up and get it done. We're ready for the next race in Hungary, so let's jump into it and get the weekend underway. I think we should be able to get a deal for Seb sorted out after the summer break. And it's going to look like, I think I might give him a 4-year deal. We'll see. 3 years minimum, and my plan here is to hopefully have him race until he's about 38. I saw a lot of drivers in the preview build, when the gameplay first started coming out, and there was a lot of 40-year-old drivers, so maybe the drivers do go a bit longer in this game, so I'm not totally against it. Seb's still improving, he's still progressing, and I think Drugovich, if we look to bring him in and replace Stroll, would be a good driver to learn from. So I'm excited about the future. Either way guys, that is it for this one. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed. As always, check out the videos on screen in a moment if you haven't seen them already. And also a big shout out to the members for supporting the content. But that is it from me here today, and I'll see all of you in the next one.